All persons involved in the production of this video complied with required occupational health and safety standards. Personal protective equipment required varied from site to site. For example, hard hats were not required for interviews filmed in an open yard.
Well, what makes a good mentor is somebody that's got experience with the task, but also an ability to communicate.
They're hardworking individuals that are willing to help other people.
Someone that everyone looks up to, someone that always sets the best example when it comes to safety.
Well, leadership is a big part of it, and clarity is also a big part of it.
You have to have a command of the trade. I mean, you really need to know what you're doing.
And have a lot of patience.
Every journey person on the job owes their trade skills to at least one, and usually several, experienced trade workers who mentored them along the way. When it is your turn to assume the role of mentor, it is important that you're able to pass on your knowledge and experience to your apprentice. Especially under the pressures of the job, this is a challenging responsibility. Mentoring is a learned skill. On the job, opportunities for lessons will naturally present themselves. 6 Steps to Mentoring provides you with a method that allows you to make the most of these training opportunities. The first step is to identify the point of the lesson. Tell the apprentice what exactly they're going to learn. The second step is to link the lesson. Relate the skill at hand to skills the apprentice has already learned and to the trade as a whole. The third step is to demonstrate the skill. Show the apprentice how the skill is to be performed. The fourth step is to provide opportunity for practice. Set up chances for the apprentice to use the skill repeatedly. The fifth step is to give feedback. Tell the apprentice how they're doing with the skill. The sixth and final step is to assess progress. Let the apprentice know how they are doing within the trade overall. Identifying the point of a lesson gives it a structure. Let the apprentice know what they're going to learn and what they should be able to do once they've learned it.
Hi, Holly, how are you?
Hi, good, thanks.
Today I'm going to show you how to sand a piece of wood properly.
Okay.
You know what these tools are?
No.
Okay. What I'm going to do, we'll go through this toolbox. I'll show you every tool in it, and then when we're done, you'll know what each one does and how to use it. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Sue. This is what we call a mini tubing cutter, and we use it to cut copper tubing in close quarters. I'm going to show you how to use this today.
Okay.
Identifying the point of a lesson will give both mentor and apprentice something specific to focus on. The second step in a lesson is to link it. Tell the apprentice how the skill at hand relates to skills they've already learned and to the trade as a whole.
Today I'm going to show you how to sand a piece of wood properly.
Okay.
Okay, and in office buildings like this one here, you're going to find that a lot of the decor is with wood. So learning how to sand it and prepare it properly is important.
Right.
Okay.
Today, we're going to replace this expansion tank. You'll find that in every boiler room you'll come across an expansion tank. Maybe not exactly the same, but similar. In order to remove this expansion tank, we're going to be using this mini tubing cutter, which I've already shown you how to use.
Once an apprentice understands what the entire job entails, they'll have a better understanding of what their role in it is.
It's really important if you're giving somebody a single task inside that to explain where it's coming from and also where it's going.
These cases behind us are a great example. Okay, we're mounting these large cases. Inside of it is going to go high voltage gear, and that's going to be feeding the daycare center.
You can't just give, here's what I want you to do. Sometimes you do need to take as a journey the moment to say, okay, here's what we're building, and then give them an understanding of why they're doing stuff.
Linking the lesson shows the apprentice how the skill fits into a bigger picture. This helps them understand it. The third step, after you have identified the point and linked the lesson, is to demonstrate the skill. A demonstration has 2 parts. It is an opportunity both to explain the skill to the apprentice and to show the apprentice how it is done.
Okay. So there's some important things I want to cover about setting up a ladder before we get into it. First, we want to make sure that we've got a good location, that it's out of the way.
In explaining any important details about the skill, you are helping the apprentice understand how it should be applied. Once you feel sufficient explanation has occurred, begin to show the apprentice how to perform the skill.
Okay?
When showing a skill, use the same tools and materials that the apprentice will use, and go through the performance of the skill.
We're going to extend this so we're at least 3 feet above.
Explain and describe each step as you go, responding to the apprentice's questions.
Why do we tie it off twice?
Okay, we tie the bottom to make sure that the ladder doesn't kick out on us when we're climbing it. And we tie the top to secure it. It's not going to shift and it won't fall back.
The final part of a demonstration is to give the apprentice a chance to try the skill themselves.
Okay, so this is the proper way to set up a ladder. We know how to do it. Next time we run through it, I'll let you run it. I'll follow along, make sure that you get everything down. When you're comfortable with using a ladder, we can move on. You can set up your own ladder.
I would say a good demonstration for an apprentice would be well lit, very slowly, step by step. Have them watching as you're doing something, lay it out for them, and maybe even write it down.
When we're showing an apprentice a new skill, we like to do it in 2 speeds. At regular speed, at the speed that they'll be actually doing, or hopefully doing the skill, and then again slower so they can see all the little subtle intricacies of the skill.
If you feel for a second that they're really not getting it, it's imperative to be able to recognize that, because sometimes they'll be nodding their head and they don't really understand what's going on.
The biggest part is to have a different ways of showing or demonstrating or explaining things. Not to get too frustrated if you don't get it the first time with someone. Try different tactics each time.
A demonstration gives the apprentice a chance to hear about the skill, see the skill, and try the skill in a supportive environment. The 4th step in a lesson is to provide an opportunity for the apprentice to practice the skill. There are 3 stages of practice, each one leading to the next. At first, stay with the apprentice and provide step-by-step guidance to develop their basic ability to perform the skill.
Is this enough oxygen? Give it a little more oxygen, keep that flame nice and short. That looks good.
So I start from the center and work my way out?
That's right.
Okay.
When both you and your apprentice feel ready, the apprentice will then be able to work on their own on a very limited basis. Because the apprentice will be working by themselves, certain conditions must be established. These are the safety procedures related to the practice, the location and time when the practice can take place, the materials and tools that will be used in the practice, the place where you can be found, and the time when you will return.
So for safety reasons, I'd like you to only operate the threader when you know where I am, all right?
Okay.
And so I'm going to be in the boiler room.
Check on the apprentice's work at preset times to be sure that their skill level is improving and that they're working safely.
Right.
You know where I am. If you need anything, I'll come and check on you in 20 minutes. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks.
When the apprentice is skilled enough to work on their own with actual job materials and tools, establish the conditions for them to practice independently. The apprentice works alone on a task, applying their new skill.
When you're finished filling, why don't you do the caulking and I'll check on it later.
If necessary, explain any related workplace safety equipment and procedures beforehand. When the apprentice has completed the task, you will inspect the quality of the finished work.
You know, when you do feel like they've got the green light, you just sort of give them a little bit of space and let them run with it.
Some people will get it right away and some people just won't, and so it's really important to recognize those ones that need to go off on their own, as long as it's safe to do so, and practice it without having eyes on them.
I had a journeyman who just kept trying to teach me by continually showing me how to do it and never actually let me do it.
They need time to practice, they need time to learn, they need time to fail.
Each stage of practice helps prepare the apprentice to work on their own in the actual circumstances of the job. The 5th step in a lesson is to give feedback. There are 2 types of feedback, supportive and corrective. Supportive feedback reinforces or supports the apprentice in making good progress with a skill.
Okay, I've finished my pre-operation check. I've got the manual and the ANSI standards here, and I think that's it.
Good, it is. You've done a great job. I especially like the way you checked the perimeter of your...
Supportive feedback is one of the most important parts of effective mentoring.
Good job.
It is a strong motivator for apprentices. It helps them focus on the best way of doing things. Corrective feedback is used to help an apprentice realize what they're doing wrong and how to change it. As a mentor, you have a responsibility to ensure that professional standards are maintained. Point out any work that does not meet these standards. Then immediately explain or demonstrate a better way of doing
That
things.
is?
Oh, overspray.
Well, that's right. So what I need you to do is I need you to poly off the aluminum in the windows.
An important thing to remember is to encourage the apprentice while giving corrective feedback.
That's okay.
Sometimes we tend to give no feedback. No news is good news is kind of one of the sayings in this. I think if you're taking on the training part, the mentorship part, it's important to qualify all of it.
If those parts that I'm not doing that great at aren't pointed out, then I won't learn how to correct those.
An important thing about giving that feedback is not to overwhelm them with too much information, and be specific about what it is that they're doing that's right or wrong. Hey, good job, way to go is not specific enough so that they can actually learn something from it. So it needs to be constructive, even if it's positive or negative, so that they have an understanding that this is why what I'm doing is good, or this is why what I'm doing is bad. If it's too vague, it's not useful.
When giving feedback, it is important to always remain professional. Avoid shaming or blaming the apprentice, as these approaches will damage the apprentice's confidence and their willingness to learn.
The bottom line is you get more production out of people that are happy. If there's animosity amongst the group, you know, people don't have a tendency to work as hard or put their heart into it.
Make sure that you're not being too hard on the apprentice, turning him off to the program, making him feel stupid or dumber than you.
The mentor really has to remain calm, take the person aside, explain to them the exact way the job should have been done, and really have a lot of patience with them and bring them along properly.
Some people believe that because they were treated poorly when they were an apprentice, that's how they should treat their apprentice. I think this is the generation to stop that, to end that, and be the generation that treats everybody fairly.
Feedback, whether supportive or corrective, is an important step that lets the apprentice know how they're doing with the skill. The final step of a lesson is to assess the apprentice's progress. An assessment can focus on either progress with a set of skills, or more broadly, on the progress so far within the trade as a whole. It is important at regular intervals to sit down with an apprentice and assess how they're doing.
Well, it looks like your cutting's coming along good. You had your flame adjusted properly and your cutting speed was good. One thing we're going to have to watch out is the layout on that.
An assessment will help you adjust your approach to lessons with the apprentice. This includes the way that you order, pace, and repeat lessons on the job.
Work on anything, we'll work on your layout a little bit, but I think you've come along pretty nicely over the last couple months.
Remember to give the apprentice a warning about a specific assessment. This allows them to have some preparation time. Having a designated testing period also lets an apprentice know that they're not always being tested, increasing their confidence on the job.
Do the layout, cut it out, and when you're done, come find me, and we'll get the general foreman and show him how you've been doing. All right. Okay?
The process of assessment lets your apprentice know how they're coming along, not just with a particular skill, but within the trade as a whole. To review, the 6 steps are: identify the point of the lesson.
Today I'm going to show you how to sand a piece of wood properly.
Okay.
Link the lesson.
In office buildings like this one here, you're going to find that a lot of the decor is with wood. So learning how to sand it and prepare it properly is important.
Right.
Okay?
Demonstrate the skill.
I want you to look for any blemishes, imperfections, burnish marks, whatever that you can see by eye, and sand them out by applying pressure. And while you're sanding, you're always sanding with the grain, okay?
Provide opportunity for practice.
Okay, now you can, okay, good. But apply a little more pressure, okay? The only way you're going to remove those marks is by adding pressure.
Give feedback.
Good, good. Yeah, it looks pretty good. You know, there are a few little marks that at the end that still need to be removed, but I think with a little bit of practice, you'll get them out.
And finally, assess progress.
Over the past while, I've seen that you've learned the basics quite well. I don't think you'll have any problem whatsoever.
Using the 6 steps will help you ensure that your apprentice is learning. They will help you be a good mentor.
I think somebody who has been chosen as a mentor should be really very proud to be chosen as a mentor. It shows that the person recognizes them as a leader in their trade, in their field.
The apprentice can earn the respect by taking some of the work away from the journey. And by that I mean taking away some of the more repetitive, heavier, less skilled work.
If I have someone who's into their job and willing to help me out and willing to listen makes my life a lot easier. And it makes me a lot more efficient.
It's one thing to be able to do something effectively, but to be able to teach somebody how to do something is that much more gratifying.
Hey, Zach. Here he is.
The future of the construction industry depends on the effective transfer of skills from one generation to the next. In actively taking on the role of mentor, you play a key part in this process.
To give him a little more complex work and see how he fares with that. You've done a really good job. Keep the work up.
Thank you.
It is your turn to participate in the long tradition of mentorship. Your actions will shape the next generation of Journey people. When mentoring on the job, you can refer to the 6 steps in order to help you structure lessons for your apprentice.